Oh shit, here we go again.
So here I am, coming back to you with my clown shoes on, talking about Brit for the third time. If you haven't seen my 2 previous videos about Brit, I recommend pausing this video and checking those out first. Or if you're only going to watch one, the Brit Hero Concept is the more relevant and important of the 2. Okay. Now if you're all caught up, let's talk about a small detail that you might have missed. Something visually present, but not verbally accounted for, because I didn't include it in my voiceover. When I was trying to draw her mech and making decisions about what the rest of it would logically maybe look like, I had to look at what was there and extrapolate. I noticed that her mech opens and closes on a hinge located in the back of the mech, and that with all the gear that's inside of it, it doesn't look like it could fully close with Brit inside of it without squishing her. So I had to account for that in my design. I had to think, okay, what's the solution here? What would allow it to close but be actually safe for Brit to be riding around in? And the answer actually came to me pretty quickly. It was like, oh, well, what if I just put a little projected barrier in between the gap that would be there, and that way she has like a pseudo cockpit window, something she can see out of, something that would still protect her. And that's fine, just as a basic idea. Like, oh, it's just there basically for the aesthetic, it's not functional, it's just a visual. But I think I can expand upon that concept and explore its full potential and make it more interesting. So here's an idea of what purpose that barrier could actually serve in the gameplay. I'm thinking that the barrier could be essentially the opposite of D.Va's cockpit window, which serves as a weakness for D.Va. It's this giant critical hit box for her. I'm thinking that Brit's cockpit window should protect Brit from critical hit headshots, and that the enemy team has to shoot it away in order to get critical hits on her. And from there, this could go one of 2 ways that I can see. Here's idea 1. The barrier, rather than having its own health pool like most barriers do, it's represented by shield health in her health bar, which would replace some of the armor health that I gave her in the concept. And instead of having to shoot the barrier specifically to get rid of it, all the enemy team would have to do is just eliminate the shield health from her health bar, just shooting her anywhere on her body. Granted, this would make it much weaker than a normal shield, and especially if that shield health was only, 100, maybe 200 at most. And as a further con, the more that her health is shields, the weaker she is to Sombra's EMP. But the pro would be that shield health tends to recharge pretty fast once you're out of combat, so she'd be able to get both her health and her barrier back pretty fast. Well, if she didn't die. Idea number 2 is the more straightforward one. It makes the barrier just a straight up normal, has its own health bar, has its own recharge rate barrier that the enemies have to specifically shoot at to make it go away. I wouldn't see this being any better than the barrier that Brigitte currently has. For balance reasons, you wouldn't want Brit, especially with how much potential I gave her to be powerful, you wouldn't want her critical hitbox protected for too long. But then again, every tank is gonna become like a mini raid boss in Overwatch 2, so who knows? Who knows how much strong, other than the devs, who knows how much stronger tanks are going to be in Overwatch 2 than they are now. I think either idea can work. Idea number 1 would be the harder one to balance because it'd be so unusual. But as far as a passive goes, would be more fair. Probably. Oh, and just to be clear, this passive would not replace the Gohyaku passive that I gave Brit. This would be a second passive. And yeah, I know, that sounds like, oh, you're just trying to make her, really powerful because you are, obsessed with this character and she's your fave. Well...
No. Oh, well, that too.
I mean... a little bit, but honestly, I think that, again, in terms of mini raid boss Overwatch 2 tank heroes, I could see all of this being features of a tank. And speaking of Overwatch 2 and Brit and how that all could tie together, now that we know, or suspect, that Overwatch 2 could maybe have a 2022 release after all, this actually plays right into my whole, Year of the Tiger. That would be significant for Brit if she's a tiger-themed hero, and we should get some kind of lore drop that talks about her in that year. Well, maybe we'll get one better. Maybe she could actually be a launch hero, along with the Fox Girl. They could release together. They could release during the beta, because in my opinion, I think that a beta coming out in 2022 is more likely than a full release. Back during Overwatch 1's beta, they did release heroes during it. Maybe they could be a double release, like how Junkrat and Roadhog were a double release, because they were themed around each other, they came as a pair. So these two could come as a pair in the beta, I'm just saying, I think that'd be a neat idea, come on Blizzard. But I would still really like to have some kind of lore drop further introducing these characters. Maybe during the Lunar New Year event, there could be like a comic where, like, I don't know, Hanzo's hanging around Hanamura and he's like, ooh, wow, what's going on over here in Kanezaka? Like, there's like a turf war. Whoa, what's up with that? And then he gets involved and he meets those characters and etc, etc. It could be really cool. Well, anyway,
That's about it. See ya.